What's a movie with a great premise but a terrible execution? In Time with Justin Timberlake, everyone ages normally until 25, and after that you have a number ticking away on your forearm. You can earn more time, but whenever it runs out you die on the spot. The rich are basically immortal, and the poor that are paycheck to paycheck are one wrong move away from death. Cool idea for a commentary on inequality, but not well executed. My question is, where does the time come from? Every single person is supposedly burning 1 second per second of this world's currency just to stay alive, and it's not like a normal currency that is simply transferred to another person. Literal years are taken out of circulation every day. Is there some Federal Reserve of time, or is time only introduced when a new person enters the system? Meaning all the people in this world are essentially vampires? Also, why is it so easy to rob someone of their time? Since the premise is that this life currency is tech-based, couldn't they at least put a fucking pin on that shit so some nerd can't just sneak up on you while you're sleeping and casually steal a century? Edit. Also, why is the resolution of the movie that they rob some rich guy who has 1,000,000 years and distribute that among the poor? If there's 1,000,000 people in the city that buys them 1 year each, if the premise is that we have the tech to keep everyone alive but we instituted this time currency bullshit to control population, then why isn't the resolution some reworking of the system to be more fair, instead of just robbing one rich guy? Edit. Also, why is the resolution of the movie that they rob some rich guy who has 1,000,000 years and distribute that among the poor? If there's 1,000,000 people in the city that buys them 1 year each, if the premise is that we have the tech to keep everyone alive but we instituted this time currency bullshit to control population, then why isn't the resolution some reworking of the system to be more fair, instead of just robbing one rich guy? Doesn't the villain ask them what their goal is? He points out that the time they distribute will just be gone eventually, and their response is, yeah, I guess, but we're gonna do it anyway. Percy Jackson would have been an easy movie to get right. It's Harry Potter but with American summer campers. Easy. But Artemis Fowl was an impossible premise to execute. Artemis Fowl is about a story about a supervillainous 12-year-old genius, fighting fairy cops, to save his mom, and it is played completely straight. The book works because the kid reading it can make Artemis cool in the head. In the safe, secluded zone of a young adult's imagination, all kinds of stupid things can seem cool, but when you put it up on the silver screen, nobody can make that cool. They could have played it off as a kitschy comedy, like the way the Marvel movies do it, but then it would have been a completely different story, and the fans would have been furious anyway. The way I always describe that piece of shit is this: they took books 1, 3, and 7, they then filtered out any part that had anything to do with Susanna and Eddie. They then took the remaining pages and fed them through a shredder. They then laid out the shredder clippings on a carpet, painted a wall with adhesive, and grabbed an at-home rotating fan. They turned on the fan and pointed it at the shredded-up pieces of paper on the ground. The fan would blow pieces of paper in the air and at the wall. Whatever stuck to the wall is the script they filmed. The scene at the end with Elsa freezing the rushing water still pisses me off. Imagine instead of making a giant wall of ice with a simple hand wave, she's really struggling, pushing everything she's got into trying to stop the water, and it's not working. She refuses to quit until Anna tells her to just let it go. She stops. Nock carries them both to safety. Arenl is destroyed. But that's fine because all the people are safe on the cliffs. The two newly reunited groups work together and build a new, better kingdom, where they both live in harmony. The entire theme of the movie was about growing up. There could have been a scene of the castle and everything in it being swept away. Paintings of their parents, their grandfather, all the old things washed clean. To start fresh, it would have tied up the whole theme. Superhero is alcoholic and misanthropic but tries to help anyway, causes collateral damage when he stops crime. People hate him for it. One day, he saves a struggling prairie expert's life from an asshole who hates the PR guy, who promises to pay him back by improving his image. New suit and everything, but he has to go to prison. He refuses, but eventually relents, goes to prison, flies out to collect a basketball that bounced out, flies back in to finish his sentence. After a while, crime rates go back up, superhero goes to save the day, but the asshole from before has now plotted to frame the PR guy and the hero, but the hero stops crimes, stops him, and stops his reputation being destroyed from being framed, and is welcomed by the community as a hero. SPZ. You don't have to be Vince Gilligan to realize sticking a sudden twist with an immortal being's cuck angle would make things much worse. Was that a hint of a reference to mole rats? Doesn't matter. It can't happen. It's impossible. Lois could never have Superman's baby. Do you think your fallopian tubes can handle the sperm? I guarantee he blows a load like a shotgun right through her back. What about her womb? Do you think it's strong enough to carry his child? He's an alien. For Christ's sake, his Kryptonian biological makeup is enhanced by Earth's yellow sun. If Lois gets a tan, the kid could kick right through her stomach. Only someone like Wonder Woman has a strong enough uterus to carry his kid. The only way he could bang regular chicks is with a kryptonite condom. That would kill him. Not a movie, but anime nerds will likely agree. Sword Art Online. Wow, what a great premise. People trapped in a virtual video game, and if you die in the game, you die in real life. Players can kill each other. Accidents can happen. Sacrifices and betrayals can happen. This gives everything a very dark overtone. You have the chance for friendships, rivalries, all sorts of opportunities to play off of real human emotions in a fantastical world. The video game also has 100 bosses to beat, with each floor in between being unique. So boom, you have multiple seasons if you want it. But nope. You get what's probably the most hilarious example of horny teenager insert I've ever seen. I've been saying that the Purge franchise should branch out into other genres. The first one was a little more horror-based, while the rest have just been standard action movies. Give me a Purge comedy about two crews of thieves robbing the same bank on Purge night. Give me a Ken Burns-style Purge mockumentary where it documents the crimes happening during the Purge, and the aftermath of it all. Give me a Purge rom-com about two murderers who court each other through increasingly elaborate and romantic murders. Fuck it. Give me a sci-fi Purge. Purge in space. Would they be good? Probably not. Would I watch them? Yes, 100%. Pitch meeting guy. Alright, so this movie is basically limitless, but instead of making a little bit of sense, it's gonna make anti-sense. Movie exec guy. I don't know, man. People are starting to expect science-fi movies to have some basis in reality. Pitch meeting guy. Did I mention it's gonna star Scarlett Johansson? Movie exec guy. Wow wow wow. Wow wow. I enjoyed the first season and thought the second was even better. It was the only one with a coherent theme that tied multiple ongoing plots together in a satisfying and meaningful way at the end. After that they completely lost sight of any sort of cohesion. They killed characters who seemed like they should have been important, introduced new random characters who didn't make sense, flip-flop Juliana's arc 5 or 6 times too many, and somehow took the mystery out of the parallel universe concept. John Smith and his family carried the series. Other than that, it became unwatchable. The series finale in particular gives Goth a run for its money in terms of total nonsense. When I first read the summary for this movie, I thought it was going to take the Superman concept and instead of being raised by two very kind and loving people, which helped Superman become a hero, it would explore what a kid like that would do with a bad childhood. I was so excited to see that what if play out, and then he just starts being a psycho because aliens, and the movie ended up boring me. So much potential. I'm torn. I think most video game movies are flawed because they try to condense 8+ hours of story into less than 2. Not that all video games have great stories, but they're made with that length in mind. Movies have to cut so much out and change so much that it might as well be a different thing. In the end you're left with this fucking mess of a story that's like this weird mishmash of what the original game writers intended and whatever the movie writers are trying to do. I think games with blank slate characters and minimal story ironically would make the best movies, because then you're free to pretty much do whatever in that you can take the base premise the game gives you and just work from there. Take Monster Hunter for example. That should have been the best video game movie ever. Easy. Have group of 4 rookie hunters, or just one, whatever, show up to country, continent, learn what it takes to be a monster hunter, get carded, get better, establish one big bad monster early on, kill monster, drop bait for sequel. Done. It blows my mind they decided to turn it into a nice guy. They added a ton of bullshit to a story that writes itself. I think Batman vs. Superman takes the cake for me. It's built on an ethical dilemma that boils down to, does absolute power, possessed by Superman, corrupt absolutely? This is actually set up really well in the preceding Superman movie, which also sucked, where young Clark Kent is being bullied and he drops a book. Turns out the book is Plato's Republic, which deals exactly with the issue of absolute power. Plato thought that a well-ordered soul could resist the evil of absolute power and spent a whole book proving it out. Anyway, I thought that was a great premise, but oh my god, the execution was terrible. Between bad casting decisions and a really bad plot twist, my mother's name is Martha, I can't believe they dropped the ball so hard. I suppose it's also worth mentioning that the extended edition/director's cut doesn't suck so bad because it helps explain Batman's motivations a little more, but still disappointing. The Chronicles of Narnia Prince Caspian, as well as Voyage of the Dawn Treader, the books the films were based off of, were fantastic fantasy stories, brilliant and exciting and great for all ages, but Caspian and Dawn Treader was a perfect example of not sticking to the original material. They were poorly written and relapsed the character development so many times. The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe was the exact opposite. It stuck to the book, stayed true to the characters and put heart and soul into the production. It was a shame to see the Narnia story ripped apart just to have 2 bad movies. The timeline for Armageddon is screwy too. There's a huge asteroid discovered coming to destroy Earth in a matter of days, weeks maybe. It's been a while since I've seen it, when all these guys are on this rig. However, when they have to round up the guys for training, they're all scattered to the ends of the country, and Edge has his own company in a matter of days. Also, NYC is destroyed, but TPTB managed to keep the asteroid a secret until the same thing happens to some small fishing town in Japan. I think it really lacks a lot of logic, lol. 2 Tom Clancy movies. The Sum of All Fears. Book was good, movie was a shit show. Without Remorse. John Clark is such a cool character and Michael B. Jordan is really good, so I was excited with what he would do with the role and the story. But it devolves into a non-coherent mess. Red October and the 2 Harrison Ford movies were great, as is Jack Ryan on Amazon, but these 2 are the biggest letdowns in the Clancy-verse. I know they're gonna butcher Rainbow Six now, not only because Without Remorse was such a mess, mainly because John Clark is supposed to be 20+ years older in it than he was Without Remorse. He's supposed to be retired, have an adult daughter who is now a doctor, and having to came to grips with not being able to go into the field anymore and having to leave that to his son-in-law Ding Chavez. That's the plot of the entire book. Michael B. Jordan is great, but he was completely miscast. I was so disappointed in that movie. I have read those books so many times because they are just so amazing. Then I saw the movie and I was so disappointed. The way I always describe that piece of shit is this: they took books 1, 3, and 7, they then filtered out any part that had anything to do with Susanna and Eddie. They then took the remaining pages and fed them through a shredder. They then laid out the shredder clippings on a carpet, painted a wall with adhesive, and grabbed an at-home rotating fan. They turned on the fan and pointed it at the shredded up pieces of paper on the ground. The fan would blow pieces of paper in the air and at the wall. Whatever stuck to the wall is the script they filmed. Could you repeat that? The an app drowned you out. Seriously, I enjoyed the movie, but fuck me the sound editing. I know Nolan cops flack for sound in all his movies, but I've never noticed or had issues until Tenet, where I couldn't understand half the dialogue. And I have excellent hearing. Clear and easily understood dialogue should be film 101. I don't see how there's any excuse for fucking that up to the point so many people have complained. Another Earth. Like the title suggests, out of thin air another Earth identical to the current one appears in the sky close to us. It sounded so interesting, but instead of actually focusing on the sci-fi aspect, they have to force some shitty romance between the girl and the father of the family she manslaughtered in a car accident. Like WTF. About to get downvoted to hell. But for me it's The Dark Knight Rises. Wisecrack did a great job breaking down the themes and the execution of said movie better than I can explain. While I don't agree with a couple items from that video, it does a great job breaking down the obvious inspiration, A Tale of Two Cities, and how Nolan not going full send on some of the themes and implementing it into the film ruined the execution. The Star Wars prequels. I love the idea that 25 years after we cheer for the underdogs fighting to restore the glorious Republic, we go back to see it and find it's creaking and splitting apart. The noble Jedi are self-interested and corrupt. and an evil genius can worm his way in and use the Republic's own contradictions to engineer its downfall. I would love to see how an idealistic young warrior slides into authoritarianism, and how the brutality of war and bad influences can lead him to commit the worst atrocities. But it was let down by nonsensical plotting, wooden acting, and writing so bad even Liam Neeson struggled to make it sound dignified. Anakin's transformation to Darth Vader is signposted for 3 movies and still feels like it comes out of nowhere with no reason behind it, and the distractingly awful CGI means it even struggles as escapism.